This is the Harrier EV. What is it doing here? We already did a review long back. Well, it's back for a proper road test this time. And well, we put it through its paces because this one carries a lot on its shoulders, especially for Tata Motors and the big SUVs that it has. So what's it all about? How is it to live with? You'll get to know all of that in this video. But before we get into all of that, like, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends and plug in to all the content that Acko Drive has to offer.
The Harrier was always a tall and smart-looking SUV. So you'd think with the EV version, there would have been some changes on the looks front.
Now, on the design front, we hoped something would have changed, especially when it came to looking like the Harrier, but it looks exactly like the Harrier. However, the front fascia gets a few changes. It's completely closed off and you have this light bar running across the face. Now, that is not standard on the Harrier, it's standard here. But then again, with that kind of name, you kind of assume that it's going to be a big, imposing car, big, imposing SUV. And this one fits the bill exactly.
So it's not a bad thing, because at the end of the day, making an EV on the same platform as the ICE version is quite difficult. But you know what? There are some changes on the inside.
Now inside you're greeted by a bit of a sci-fi kind of a place because this big screen, which is 14.53 inch, takes all the space up. On the inside, there are so many things that have changed compared to the ICE version of the Harrier, because this one takes up the entire space of the dashboard. It's right in your face. It's 14.53 inch. So yes, it's big. And of course, with it come a lot of features. That's a Samsung unit, and you'll kind of understand why this is a mix of tech and silent tech revolution kind of a way. But you know what? It says what it does. It's sleek, it's absolutely on point, and it just is so simple to operate. And all of that just puts you in a good mood, frankly, especially when it comes to history with Tata cars, where electronics take a back seat. But here you also get arcade.ev, which helps you watch movies, or if you're charging your car in one place, or play games when the car is stationary. Having said all of that, there are a few things that I don't like in the car, especially something like this. It looks tacky. It tries to bring out that carbon fiber kind of a feeling, but it still looks very, very tacky. And especially when you have soft touch material here, soft touch material down here, then you have something like this in a checkered kind of a pattern, which really doesn't enhance anything. And it's literally plain plastic. That's kind of a turn off. But the other things here are actually pretty nice. Even this seat, very nice in terms of lumbar support and under thigh support. Extremely, extremely important in a big car like this, because this one is a mile muncher. Now, of course, because it's a large car, you need a large glass area, basically to make it feel roomier. And that's what this sunroof also does, the panoramic sunroof. It just puts in light inside the car, and because of the light interiors as well, the sense of space just broadens. That is important in a car like this. Ventilated seats are also part of the package, which is great. We love them. And again, this is a 5-star safety rated car. So yes, good at every bit.
The cabin gets a thumbs up then, but it's not all about features in the road test, is it?
Now this one is quick on its feet, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just about close to 6 seconds. And it feels fast too. The power delivery is very linear. It doesn't sink you back in your seat, but it's quick. And that's, I think, what Tata Motors has learned from the Nexon, that don't give all the power right away, give it in a staggered fashion so that the battery also lasts. It's interesting how the Harrier behaves because it has a lot of weight, it carries a lot of weight, but yet in corners it still is very poised. It's not like a sports car. It will never be because it is bulky. But still, it maintains its composure. And that's what is really interesting. How Tata Motors has managed to give it every bit of muscle, brawn, and flexibility.
Now I have to say here that the EV is heavier than the diesel variant of the car by close to 300 kilos. So yes, it's carrying a lot of weight and hence the suspension had to be tuned in that manner.
Now, on the suspension front, I have mixed feelings here. Because on smooth tarmac, it's great. It's absolutely poised, there's no problem. It is as smooth can get. But when it comes to a bit of rocky kind of a, there you go. Now you see what I'm talking about. You do get thrown around a bit. And there you go. Bad roads, it deals with decently, but at slower speeds. And it does feel like a boat. And that's where you start getting a little uncomfortable. There you go. Ow! I hadn't even noticed the depth of that one. But then again, big potholes, it will take it in its stride. There will be no problem of you hitting the underbelly. That is important, especially since the EV's battery component is on the floor. But smooth roads, no problem. The suspension is a bit on the harder side, which is why it does that. Which is why whenever it goes into a pothole, there is lateral movement. How could that have been avoided? Could a balanced suspension have helped? Not really, because it has a lot of bulk on it. And to keep it off the ground takes a lot, which is why the suspension setup had to be on the harder side. So there is a logic to that. But then again, that's where the Achilles heel lies.
The one that we've got also has the quad wheel drive function.
So the quad wheel drive is software based. It's a very intelligent system, and let's put that to the test. I am switching to rock crawl mode because this is kind of a rocky terrain. Let's see how it does. This is pretty simple in terms of off-roading, so I'm not going to put it to a thorough test. But then again, the torque distribution, everything comes into the picture, and it is pretty sorted in terms of that. So let's see how it does here. Well, it handled that pretty well. It's got decent amount of torque for you. And that's why it gives you a lot of confidence to do something that probably you wouldn't think of in a Harrier. Just trying to get this properly in. Here you go. Nicely done. It's like you're in a playground. Damn good fun. It does look a little bit steep. It is steep. Will do fine. This is not a soft roader. This will do just fine. But the problem will be when you have slug. That's where the challenge lies. Right now, with the monsoon almost gone, you don't have that anyway. But the quad wheel drive really adds a fascinating balance into this car, because it is not a four-wheel drive, an all-time four-wheel drive. It kicks in when required. That's what makes it interesting. Ooh, there you go. Crawling, crawling, crawling. I am destroying a lot of vegetation in this, not really living up to the name of a green car. Now, thanks to the software, it kind of evens out the torque distribution between the wheels. So, it knows exactly where the grip is, and then it just constantly gives you that. Surreal, absolutely. It's not mechanical, that's the fun part.
What's also not mechanical is the rear view mirror. Let me just say, it's not old school.
Now, I'm not a big fan of the video output here because you know what? I'm used to seeing the real thing, but it's too far away and the window is too small, which is why obviously Tata thought that an HD camera will certainly help. It does give a broad picture of what's happening behind. But I have noticed that sometimes when you go through a pothole or you go through some bad roads, that thing starts glitching, which is a bit problematic. And I don't blame Tata Motors because at the end of the day, they are electronics, they're not the real thing, right? But this rear view mirror comes in handy. So it has a lot of functions in it. You can switch it off as well, but it can also take pictures on the go. It can zoom in, zoom out. Now, hypothetically, if there is someone who's, say, pursuing you, or there is some problem, and you need the number plate of the person behind who is the genesis of that problem, there is an option to click a photo. It's very interesting and it's very, very easily accessible.
Let's talk about range now. This version, according to Tata Motors, delivers 622 kilometers on a single charge. In real-world driving conditions, you can expect about a range of 450 to 500 kilometers, depending on driving patterns, terrain and weather. I got about 453 kilometers on a full charge, which is probably better than some of the ICE compact SUVs. Now, with a 120 kilowatt DC fast charger, you can get about 250 kilometers of range in just 15 minutes. And normal charging though takes about 9 hours. The Harrier makes for a decent EV and takes Tata's ambitions to new heights. But it has some flaws, and could Tata have done more? But is it an EV you can live with? I have no doubts there. But a comparison with the XEV 9e is in order, and we'll have that very soon on Acko Drive.